The Pokemon anime just did something that I never thought we'd see. From the connection between Aura and our heroes, to breaking the laws of Mega Evolution, episode 114 was genuinely bonkers. It was also so hype that I can't believe. I have so much to say about this one all throughout the video, even more than normal, so I hope you guys enjoy the review. At the beginning of the episode, Roy and Alt know they have to defeat Count Oyster and Shoyu before they can challenge Lucario, the Yellow Blast, and Alt believes that battling alongside Sableye here will finally help him understand what he is to Sableye, and in turn help them master Mega Evolution like Master Mayonnaise said. It's honestly great to see him actually taking that feedback seriously and trying to grow, you know? It says a lot about him as a trainer despite his chaotic flaws. The battle kicked off with the enemy Escavalier tanking hits and thus providing openings for Excelgor to dart forwards and strike. It was like a classic tag team combo between a defensive tank and an aggressive speedster. It worked really well here, man. I've always loved when two Pokemon have natural synergy like that. And plus, seeing a non-Greninja Pokemon using Water Shuriken for the first time ever in the anime, that was a cool surprise too. Alt gets a bit reckless with Sableye, forcing Crocodile to save him, and at this point Roy's really trying to push Alt to actually work with him as a team. But Alt low-key starts to crash out, leaving Roy and Crocodile to hold the line in a 1v2 until he regains focus. Luckily, Crocodile's absolutely popping off though, handling the two opponents really smoothly with dodges and clashes, and some really unique fluid animation too. Obviously the animators are responsible for that last part though. I can't give that to Crocodile. Watching Roy and Crocodile battling in perfect sync with each other finally makes Alt realise the real issue. All along, he's been charging headfirst into every battle focused on himself, rather than trying to work in sync with Sableye. He realises his goal shouldn't be for him to become the strongest, it should be to help make Sableye the strongest. And then in doing that, Sableye will help him reach that title himself. This was definitely a nice moment that felt full circle for Alt, like everything has been building up to it, and now that he knows how to become the strongest, it leads on nicely to his later development in Mega Voltage, where he realises why he wants to become the strongest. To protect the people around him. Alt has had some surprisingly good character development so far in just an arc and a mini-arc. I didn't really expect it, but it makes me happy, you know? So, Crocodile cleverly lures Escavalier in, trapping its lance in the wall, and then he finishes it off with Flamethrower. But when Excelgor tries to counter Crocodile from behind, Alt and Sableye swoop in for the save. And that perfectly mirrors Roy and Crocodile's teamwork earlier, saving Sableye. Once again, a great full circle moment. Alt's reaction to the win is really wholesome. He's so expressive and joyful, but then he tries to play it cool when Roy notices. He really does feel like a typical teenage boy. But I hope that he learns to express himself more freely someday, you know? I hate to see anyone inhibiting themselves out of fear for how other people will perceive them. I mean, after all, the sun doesn't apologise for shining, does it? So with that, Roy and Alt finally move on to face the Yellow Blast once again. Lucario reveals himself like a final boss, and then he immediately begins darting around at lightning speed again, completely overwhelming Sableye and Crocodile, hitting them hard. Roy and Alt are stressed out, but they start strategizing together. They think Lucario is too fast to dodge forever, so their only chance is to perfectly time a counter. I love when these two put their two brain cells together, man. It reminds me of me and my best mate. So Sableye gives it a go, but it's nearly impossible to nail the timing. But the good thing is that the desperation of the moment results in Alt pouring his heart out, finally realising that he and Sableye are one and the same, that they're totally connected on a deeper level, and then in that moment both of them begin glowing with a purple aura. Finally perfectly aligning for the first time ever. Lucario stops in his tracks, looking at their identical aura, and then his aura activates too. Now I've seen some people saying no, that's not aura. And I get it, aura's always been treated as something rare and special, something saved for Ashy Boy and no one else. So I get why some people really don't want to accept that this could be aura too, but come on man, we can't ignore what's right in front of us. That was so clearly Alt and Sableye's aura. Not only was it visually identical to Lucario's aura, but it also made sense writing-wise, with Alt and Sableye connecting and being on the same wavelength for the first ever time, and also Lucario's reaction made it clear. You know, Lucario, who's literally the aura Pokemon? That doesn't mean Alt is suddenly an aura wielder or that he can control aura or anything. It's just to show that Alt and Sableye are truly aligned perfectly for the first time. After all, it's established that in the Pokemon universe, all living things have auras. All humans and all Pokemon, but most of them just aren't aware of it and they can't control it, you know? Only rare cases like Lucario's, Ash, Sir Aaron, Riley, only they can actually wield it. So Alt and Sableye's auras syncing up doesn't mean they're aura wielders, it's just a visual proof of their bond being aligned. So yeah, I don't think it's worth getting upset or angry over. So for the first time ever, Alt and Sableye managed to successfully Mega Evolve, which really does prove how much they've grown. Mega Sableye blocks Lucario's strike and hits back even harder, but after more battling, Sableye begins really struggling. He's really not used to his new Mega Evolved body carrying such a giant gem all the time. And I love that the anime is finally touching on this again. The idea that for some Pokemon, evolution changes their body so greatly that they need time to adapt to it, you know? They can't just battle the same way as they always did. The Diamond and Pearl anime kind of briefly touched on this, with Ash's Turtwig evolving into a Grottle, but I always wished we saw more of it explored, so seeing it here is awesome. So that leads to Lucario knocking out Sableye, leaving Roy and Crocodile to rise up and finish the fight. And finally, after so long, Roy starts singing his and Crocodile's song again. Dude, I've missed this lovely singing side of Roy so much since the time skip. Just that joy, the spark, the childlike spirit, is what made me fall in love with his and Fuecoco's characters at the beginning of Horizons. So as the two of them sing, they suddenly begin glowing with a red aura, completely shocking Lucario. And I still think this is the same thing that happened back in Roy's battle versus Rhyme, even though most people thought I was insane for suggesting it back then. But it just feels like they're so deeply on the same wavelength that even their auras are one and the same too. So Lucario and Crocodile clash, and then the camera pans to Roy, revealing that his aura isn't just red, it's red and yellow. Red like Crocodile, yellow like Lucario. And somehow, Roy starts reading every one of Lucario's moves perfectly. Roy is calling out dodges and counters with total precision. It's like he can sense Lucario's next attack and next movement before it even happens. We even get a shot from Roy's perspective. Everything around him is black and white except for the glowing auras of Crocodile and Lucario. This is literally identical to how we've seen aura wielders work in the past. It's like the power of aura is allowing Roy to read everything around him, to see what can't be seen by regular people. And then Lucario's aura begins turning red, and Roy realizes he can actually feel Lucario's emotions and movements through Crocodile. The show doesn't completely spell it out clear, it leaves it a little bit vague like it did in Pokemon Journeys, but to me this just screams proof of what I've been saying for months. While Alt and Sableye's auras are synced up, Alt couldn't read that aura or use the aura to his own benefit because he doesn't have that aura sensitivity. But Roy though, he's different, dude. His aura is resonating with both Crocodile and Lucario's auras, and it feels like Roy is using that aura in battle. For Roy, it's not just a visual representation of his bond with Crocodile, it's quite literally aura control. To me, this really feels like Roy can read and can use aura to his benefit in battles. It lines up with all of the previous aura wielders we've seen in the past in the Pokemon anime, and I think it confirms my crazy theory from ages ago. Roy has some degree of control or sensitivity over aura. For me, I totally understand why so many people don't want Roy to have any kind of relation to aura. It definitely doesn't help the allegations that he's just an Ash knockoff, but I really don't care, to be honest. I love our boy Roy. If he wants to be an aura wielder, good for him. And I'm even happier that I predicted it so long ago. You see, sometimes my crazy theories do come true. So the battle keeps escalating, and then dude, Roy and Lucario both yell out at the same time, and they both so passionately want to keep battling with everything they have. And in that instant, Roy's Keystone connects with Lucario's Mega Stone, and somehow it triggers a Mega Evolution, man. Everyone's jaws just drop. It's completely insane, it's like a miracle, you know? A trainer Mega Evolving a Pokemon that isn't even his? A trainer Mega Evolving a wild Pokemon he met the other day? A Pokemon that he doesn't have any history or close bond with? And dude, it's beyond just Mega Evolving a wild Pokemon. Roy Mega Evolved his own opponent in a battle. He Mega Evolved his opponent. That goes against all the rules of Mega Evolution. It should be impossible, dude. And normally I would be the first person to criticize that, but I dunno, somehow in the moment it just felt so right to me, you know? It felt perfect and fitting. It felt like the right climactic moment, and I really think all of that is down to the focus on aura in this episode. Despite Roy not having that history with Lucario, it's so clear that they are totally aligned here. Lucario feels Roy's aura, his spirit, and in return Roy feels Lucario's aura, his spirit. Their auras have connected and perfectly synced, and we know that aura can boost the power and potential of Mega Evolution. That was how Ash got his Mega Stone for his Mega Lucario, so I don't think it's too far-fetched or too unrealistic that Roy and Lucario's aura overlapping, that could lead to a miracle, impossible Mega Evolution for them. It was like a perfect aura-powered Mega Evolution moment that proves that Roy and Lucario are destined to be partners. And then the final clash between Roy and Crocalor is absolutely phenomenal. Crocalor unleashes his strongest attack ever, and Lucario counters with everything he's got too. But then as Roy screams out in passion, Crocalor pushes harder and overpowers Lucario. Lucario is down, dude! Roy becomes the first ever trainer to actually defeat the Yellow Blast. Everything about this was remarkable, from the animation, to the music, to the battle choreography, to the impact, to the story build-up. What a masterclass, man. Probably one of the coolest moments in the whole of Horizons. An impossible Aura Mega Evolution leading to an impossible victory. This whole episode was about achieving the unachievable, making the impossible possible, and I loved every second of it. So Roy and Crocalor are absolutely ecstatic and celebrating, and Master Mayonnaise reveals that everything leading up to this was all part of his, Oysters, and Shoyu's grand Mega Evolution training plan. What legends these three are, dude. I love that they go to all of this effort just to help out random trainers with Mega Evolution, and what a creative way to include a Mega training arc in Horizons without it feeling like a rehash of the previous ones. Suddenly Lucario dashes towards Roy and Crocalor, bowing down and giving the most absolutely adorable puppy dog eyes of all time. He's in awe of their power and he really likes them and he wants to join their team. And then Lucario and Roy connect through aura, feeling each other's feelings to want to get stronger and knowing they're a perfect match for each other. And seeing Lucario like this genuinely made me smile so much. Finally, Lucario actually has a personality beyond just being stoic and serious. This mini arc made me love Lucario so much more, from his insane, fast-paced battle style, to his cool Yellow Blast title, to this softer, more emotional side of his personality. I do kinda wonder where all of that vanished to during the Mega Voltage arc though. He kind of lost all of this. It reminds me of that meme where a boss in a video game is unstoppable when you fight them, but then when you unlock them as a playable character, they're totally weak. But hopefully now that we've seen Lucario's origins here, hopefully that means the writers will make him feel more like this again in the next arc. Because if Lucario goes back to being as flat as he was in Mega Voltage, then it is so over, man. So, Roy catches a Lucario while Alt reflects on wanting a similar bond with the Pokemon in his Dusk Ball, and later on Roy meets Emma to tell her he's going to continue his journey, but she reveals that Alt already left earlier that day ready to move forward too. And in the flashback to that moment, Emma mentions to Alt that they're family now, and that there's always a place for him here, leaving him blushing. I love that for them, man. I'm so glad they found each other. They clearly both needed it, you know? Emma thanks Roy for befriending Alt and helping him find his path, and then she tells him something really powerful. She says that she thinks the reason Captain Pikachu chose to travel with Roy is because Roy is just like Friede, always looking forwards and pushing onwards. All the other Horizon Volt tacklers ended their journey and stayed stationary after what happened in Lacqua, but Roy kept going, and Cap saw that and he saw Friede in Roy. Roy is getting closer and closer to being Friede with every step he takes. Both Cap and Roy realise that Emma's right, and it's quite a nice little bonding moment, you know? It put a smile on my face, and I'm glad we have an answer now why Cap chose to stay with Roy. So, Roy heads into a Lumio City clothing store and picks out a new outfit that makes him feel even closer to Friede. And yeah, it's official! Roy is not becoming the new Ash Ketchum, he's becoming the new Friede, dude. And I love that the story itself and Roy and Cap are acknowledging it now too. So Roy leaves his old hat with Emma, and then we see that in the future he and Alt keep crossing paths on their adventures. And that perfectly ties in to where we see them at the beginning of the Mega Voltage arc. What a special way to end an episode, dude. So, the amount of thoughts and opinions and analyses I gave throughout this video between the episode summary bits is probably more than most of my other review videos. So this end segment will be pretty brief, because you guys already know how I feel about this episode by now. Overall, I thought this episode was spectacular, dude. The way that it so satisfyingly and perfectly tied up all of the loose threads from Mega Voltage between Roy, Alt and Lucario, that made me so incredibly happy. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for all three of those characters now, and that's something I was really lacking in the previous arc. So for me, although the other two episodes in the Lumio City flashback mini arc were just alright, this finale honestly made it all worth it. It saved the mini arc. It made me feel like it was actually worth the time, you know? I get why the writers wanted to include this now. I don't know man, the way it connected Roy and Alt and Sableye and Crocalor and Lucario and Cap and Mega Evolution and Emma and Friede, the way it explained how all of them got to the exact positions they're in at the beginning of Mega Voltage, I'm genuinely just so impressed right now. It felt like the writers were back on their A-game here, and it gives me so much hope and hype for whatever comes next. And plus, you guys know I'm the biggest sucker for aura in the entire world, so an episode featuring that so heavily, even if the writers left it slightly vague in places, I feel like this episode was just made for me, you know? This episode was an absolute banger. Let me know your thoughts on this episode below, and your thoughts on the whole mini-arc in general. How do you feel? Was it worth the time? For me, it gave me more than I expected, so I'm happy. Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed my review video. We're so close to 150,000 subscribers, so it would really help me out a lot, dude. Also, thank you so much to all of my incredible channel members. That includes Fizz, Toten, Jascadia, Not Mini, Hope, Melissa, Shareborn, Pokesan, Jay. You guys are legends. I really appreciate your support. And yeah, on that note, I'm gonna call it a day because my voice really hurts. So thank you all so much for watching, and best wishes until we meet again!